Yorker magazine is known for its clever cover art and heady articles, but it's the cartoons that are often the most memorable. My next guest has published more than 1,200 cartoons in the New Yorker over the past 36 years. She's now out with a new memoir titled, Can't We Talk About Something More Pleasant? Roz Chast, welcome to Greater Boston.
Thank you for having me.
Roz, this is great. I mean, it's been getting so much attention, I think. For one reason, it resonates with all the baby boomers, many of us who have been through this exact same thing. The difference is that you've taken all these unpleasant things and put some humor into it.
I think some of the things, not all of them, of course, but some of the things did have some humor in them. So I didn't have to put it in there.
But a lot of it is just heartbreaking. You kind of pick up at the point where your parents had been so independent all their lives and been married over 60 years, I think, and suddenly things really started to go south. Now, did you take notes on it? How did you pull all this together?
I did sometimes take notes. I submit a weekly group of drawings to the New Yorker, and some of the drawings for this book actually came from those weekly batches of drawings that I would turn in. For instance, the ones after the World Trade Centers were hit. Those were conversations, improbable, sort of hilarious conversations I had with my parents, you know, where they would be arguing about whether or not to go to the Afghani restaurant in their neighborhood in Brooklyn to prove to all of the Middle East, evidently, that people in the United States didn't think all Middle Easterners were crazy. I mean, just, you know, and then they would have this, you know, argument, and I'd just be the third person on the phone, like, listening to this.
They had a tough life. I don't mean to minimize it. They really did, and you kind of set that up in the beginning, and they were inseparable. The two of them never left each other, as you said, unless they were going to the bathroom. So they had this, I mean, even as you say, in some of the places that they were put, that people thought, wow, this couple has a lot of tension. This is unpleasant, but yeah, it was just really the way they dealt with each other.
Exactly, exactly. I think that was how they dealt with each other. And as my mother would say, the rocks in his head match the holes in mine. They had worked it out, I guess.
Yeah. One of the things that's very sensitive about this is you talk about what it's like having to make financial decisions, not just for them, but looking at the money and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be spending so much in all these rehab places or facilities, and then what's the biggest concern? That you're wasting their money, or there's not going to be some for you? What do you worry about?
The biggest concern I had was that it was going to run out. Yeah. And I did not know what happened then, and nobody would tell me exactly. It was this terrifying thought. I didn't know, because the place that at the end they were in was a rather nice assisted living facility, but I had also seen nursing homes where long-term patients stay, where they're not paying out of pocket, where I don't know whether it's Medicaid or Medicare, I have no idea. Yeah. Somebody else is paying, or do I bankrupt? You know, do I now, like, take the money that I save for my kids' college and pay for this? And, you know, how does it work? So that was my main concern.
I want to put up one of your cartoons, which you established kind of early on. Well, just describe what's going on here. The Wheel of Doom. It's very funny, too.
The Wheel of Doom, I think some of this was my parents' sort of difficult life, but they really did almost anything could be associated to doom. I mean, sitting on the ground. My mother knew somebody who sat on the ground as a child. She caught a cold in her kidneys. She died. I don't know how you catch a cold in your kidneys, but did. My parents actually knew somebody who was killed by a falling flower pot. They just knew so many.
Did they focus on that?
Oh, yeah. I think these were sort of interesting stories. Yeah. And I heard all of them when I was growing up, which was, you know, I think partly why I loved the cartoons of Charles Addams, and, you know, any kind of black humor really appealed.
The exact opposite, a very reckless childhood. My father promoted that, I'd have to say. But going back to kind of this, the process of watching your parents die, I mean, they didn't want to talk about, most of us don't talk about it with their parents. Are you talking about it with your daughter?
Of course not. It's a terrible topic. It's, I think we avoid it until it's unavoidable. But it's, and I shouldn't say of course not, because I would like to think I had learned something from this, but evidently I haven't. But it's a very difficult topic to talk about.
You're an only child. Do you think that made it harder? I mean, you've felt the burden.
I think it was a mixed thing. I think on one hand, when you're an only child, the burden is totally on you. On the other hand, I know people who have siblings where they wind up in these terrible fights because, you know, one person wants to do one thing, one person wants to do another thing. So they probably both balance each other out.
And you could take whatever stuff you wanted. I love that, too. I mean, they had accumulated decades.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you've got the photographs in there. Like, why does every parent our age have a drawer full of jar tops?
I don't know.
Or parents' age, as they say. Everybody had it.
Yes. Well, a friend of mine said, you have found the source of the river eBay.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. It's a wonderful book, and I should say it's a graphic novel if anybody hasn't figured that out. Roz Chast, great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.